The courtroom falls into that familiar, comfortable hush as Judge Frank Caprio settles into his chair behind the bench. It's another Tuesday morning in Providence Municipal Court, where the mundane machinery of traffic violations and parking disputes quietly churns through the lives of ordinary people. The clerk calls the next case, and there's a rustling of paper, the shuffle of expensive heels clicking against the old courtroom floor. Case number 4732. Citation for illegal parking in a handicapped zone. The defendant is Mrs. Victoria Ashford. Judge Caprio looks up from his notes, his reading glasses perched on his nose in that grandfatherly way that has made him beloved across the internet. He's seen thousands of cases, heard every excuse, witnessed every human emotion play out in this very room. But something about the woman approaching the bench catches his attention immediately. She's wearing what looks like a designer's suit, cream-colored and perfectly tailored, paired with jewelry that catches the fluorescent courtroom lights. Her hair is styled in that way that speaks of weekly salon appointments, and she carries herself with the kind of confidence that money often provides. But it's not her appearance that makes Judge Caprio's eyebrows rise slightly. It's the way she's walking toward him with purpose, with anger, with something simmering just beneath that polished surface. "Good morning, Mrs. Ashford," Judge Caprio says in his warm, gravelly voice, the one that has comforted so many defendants over the years. "How are you today?" The woman stops at the podium, sets down a designer handbag that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and looks directly at the judge with eyes that are blazing with indignation. "I'm not good, Your Honor. I'm not good at all." There's something in her voice sharp, privileged, entitled. The courtroom staff exchange glances. Judge Caprio leans back slightly in his chair, his expression neutral but his eyes revealing that he's already reading the situation, already calculating, already feeling his way into whatever storm is about to unfold. "I'm sorry to hear that," he says gently. "Why don't you tell me what happened? Let's start from the beginning." Mrs. Ashford reaches into her purse, and for a moment, the bailiff tenses slightly. But what she pulls out isn't a weapon, it's pieces of paper. Torn pieces. Shredded pieces. She holds them up dramatically, letting the fragments fall onto the podium like confetti. "This is what I think of this ridiculous ticket, Your Honor. This is absolutely absurd. I was parked in that spot for maybe 5 minutes. While I ran into the pharmacy to pick up my prescription. And when I came out, there was this power-hungry parking enforcement officer writing me a citation. For a handicapped spot. As if I'm some kind of criminal." The courtroom is dead silent. Judge Caprio doesn't move, doesn't react beyond a slight tightening around his eyes. He's seen disrespect before, but this is different. This is someone who has decided that the rules don't apply to her, that her time is more valuable than anyone else's, that her convenience trumps the law. The prosecutor, a young woman named Sarah Chen who has worked with Judge Caprio for 3 years, stands up from her table. Her voice is steady but firm. "Your Honor, the citation was issued at 2:15 p.m. on October 4th. The defendant's vehicle, a 2024 Mercedes-Benz S-Class, was parked in a clearly marked handicapped space outside Anderson Pharmacy on Federal Hill. The parking enforcement officer took photographs, which I have here. The vehicle was there for approximately 12 minutes, not 5, and the defendant does not have a handicapped placard or license plate." Mrs. Ashford waves her hand dismissively, the gesture dripping with contempt. 12 minutes, 5 minutes, what's the difference? There were plenty of other spots. That handicapped space was empty anyway. Nobody was using it. And frankly, I think this whole situation is a waste of the court's time and my time." Judge Caprio is quiet for a moment. Those who know him, who have watched his videos or sat in his courtroom, recognize this pause. It's not hesitation, it's him choosing his words carefully, deciding how to reach someone, how to teach without preaching, how to find the human beneath the arrogance. "Mrs. Ashford," he begins, his voice still gentle but with a slight edge now, "I need you to understand something. This court takes every case seriously. And those handicapped parking spaces, they're not suggestions. They're not there for convenience. They exist for people who genuinely need them. I understand that, Your Honor, but let me finish, please. His tone is firmer now, but still respectful. You tore up your citation. You brought it into my courtroom in pieces. I want to understand why you did that. Help me understand what's going on here. Mrs. Ashford's jaw tightens. Her manicured fingers drum against the podium. Because it's unjust. Because I work hard for my money, I pay my taxes, and I don't deserve to be treated like some kind of lawbreaker over a parking space. I have never gotten a ticket in my entire life. Never. And this is how I'm treated. Judge Caprio nods slowly, absorbing her words. The camera, always rolling in his courtroom, captures the way his expression shifts not to anger, but to something deeper. Concern, perhaps. Or recognition that there's more to this story than simple entitlement. Mrs. Ashford, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'd like you to be honest with me. Can you do that? Mrs. Ashford's shoulders stiffen, but she nods. Of course. Judge Caprio removes his glasses, a gesture that anyone familiar with his courtroom knows signals that he's about to dig deeper, to move beyond the surface of the case into the human story beneath. Tell me about yourself. What do you do for work? The question seems to catch her off guard. She blinks, and for just a second, that polished facade cracks ever so slightly. I'm in real estate. High-end properties. I've been doing it for 23 years. 23 years. That's a long time. You must be very good at what you do. A flicker of pride crosses her face. I am. I've built my business from nothing. I came from a family that had nothing, Your Honor. I put myself through college working 3 jobs. I know what hard work means. Judge Caprio leans forward slightly, his elbows on the bench, his hands clasped together. I believe you. I can see that. So help me understand someone who has worked that hard, who has built something from nothing, who knows what struggle means. Why would that person tear up a ticket and come into court with this kind of anger? Because I'm looking at you, Mrs. Ashford, and I'm seeing someone who's not just angry about a parking ticket. I'm seeing someone who's angry about something much bigger. The courtroom is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Mrs. Ashford's eyes glisten slightly, but she blinks rapidly, refusing to let any emotion show. It's just a parking ticket, Your Honor. Is it? His voice is so gentle now, so inviting. Talk to me. What happened that day? What was happening before you parked in that space? Mrs. Ashford looks away, her jaw working, her hands gripping the edge of the podium. I told you. I was picking up a prescription. What kind of prescription? That's personal. I know it is. And I'm not trying to invade your privacy. But Mrs. Ashford, you came into my courtroom and destroyed your citation in front of me. That's serious. That shows contempt for the court. Now, I can respond to that in kind, or I can try to understand what's really going on. I'd prefer to understand. So please, help me understand. There's a long pause. The prosecutor shifts in her seat, watching. The clerk has stopped typing, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. Everyone in the courtroom can feel it the moment when a case stops being about facts and evidence and becomes about something real, something human. Mrs. Ashford's voice, when it comes, is quieter. It was medication. For my husband. Judge Caprio nods slowly. Your husband. Is he ill? Another pause, longer this time. When Mrs. Ashford speaks again, her voice has changed. The sharp edges are still there, but underneath them now is something raw, something that sounds like it's been held in too long. He has Parkinson's disease. He was diagnosed 3 years ago. He's only 56 years old. She says this last part as if it's an accusation, as if she's arguing with fate itself. 56. We were supposed to be planning our retirement. We were supposed to be traveling. And instead, she trails off, and Judge Caprio waits. He doesn't rush her, doesn't push. He just waits, giving her space to continue. Instead, I'm watching him deteriorate. I'm watching this disease take him piece by piece. His hands shake so badly now he can't button his own shirt. He can barely walk without help. And the medications, there are so many medications. They help, but they're not a cure. Nothing's a cure. The courtroom audience, a handful of people waiting for their own cases, watch in silence. Some of them have tears in their eyes. This is what Judge Caprio's courtroom does. It strips away the pretense and gets to the truth of who people really are. I'm very sorry, Judge Caprio says quietly. I truly am. Parkinson's is a terrible disease. I've known people who have suffered from it. It's not just hard on the patient, it's hard on the whole family. Mrs. Ashford nods, still not looking at him. That day, the day I got the ticket, he had fallen. He fell in the bathroom that morning, and I couldn't get him up by myself. I had to call our neighbor to come help. And then he was in pain all day, and I realized we were out of one of his medications, the one that helps with the tremors. So I rushed out to get it. And yes, I parked in that handicapped spot because I was in a hurry, because I was stressed, because I just wanted to get the medication and get back home to him. And when I saw that ticket on my windshield, something in me just broke. She finally looks up at Judge Caprio, and her eyes are filled with tears now, no longer able to hold them back. I'm not a bad person, Your Honor. I'm not someone who thinks the rules don't apply to me. But that day, I just couldn't. I couldn't take one more thing. I couldn't handle one more problem, one more expense, one more reminder that everything is falling apart. Judge Caprio's face is soft with compassion, his eyes reflecting the pain he's hearing. Mrs. Ashford, I understand. I truly do. But I need to ask you something, and I need you to really hear me. When you parked in that handicapped space, were you thinking about the person who might need it? The person who might have a disability, who might need that close spot because they can't walk far? Mrs. Ashford's face crumples slightly at the question. She shakes her head slowly. No. I wasn't thinking about anyone but myself. I was just trying to survive the day. Judge Caprio nods, his expression understanding but serious. I believe you. And I appreciate your honesty. But here's what I need you to understand. Your husband has Parkinson's. He struggles to walk. He needs help. Would you want someone to park in a handicapped spot if he needed it? Would you want someone to take that space from him because they were in a hurry? The question lands like a physical blow. Mrs. Ashford's hand goes to her mouth, and for the first time, real tears spill down her cheeks, ruining her carefully applied makeup. Oh God, she whispers. Oh God, I didn't think. I know, Judge Caprio says gently. I know you didn't. Because when we're drowning, we can't always see what's happening around us. When we're in survival mode, we make decisions we wouldn't normally make. But that's why we have these laws, Mrs. Ashford. Not to punish good people who are having a hard time, but to protect the most vulnerable among us. Mrs. Ashford is openly crying now, her shoulders shaking. The anger, the entitlement, the sharp edges, they've all melted away, revealing someone who is simply exhausted, someone who has been carrying too much for too long. I'm so sorry, she says through her tears. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I didn't mean to tear up the ticket like that. I'm just so tired. I'm so tired of being strong all the time. I'm tired of watching my husband suffer. I'm tired of the medical bills and the insurance companies and the constant worry about money. I used to be successful. I used to have clients waiting to work with me. But now, I can barely focus on my business because I'm taking care of him full time. We're burning through our savings. And I'm scared. I'm so scared that I won't be able to afford his care, that I won't be able to give him what he needs. Judge Caprio's eyes are glistening now too. Anyone who has followed his career knows this about him. He feels deeply, he connects with the people in front of him, and he never hides his humanity behind the black robe. Mrs. Ashford, look at me. His voice is so kind, so paternal. She raises her tear-stained face to meet his gaze. You're not alone in this. I know it feels like you are, but you're not. There are resources, support groups, programs that can help. Have you reached out to the Parkinson's Foundation? Have you looked into home care assistance? She shakes her head. I don't even know where to start. Every day is just about getting through that day. I don't have the energy to research programs or make phone calls. By the time I get him fed and bathed and comfortable, I'm so exhausted I can barely think. I understand. And I'm going to help you with that. My clerk, Susan, is going to give you some information before you leave today. Phone numbers, organizations that specialize in helping families dealing with Parkinson's. Will you promise me you'll call them? Mrs. Ashford nods, wiping at her eyes with trembling fingers. Yes. Yes, Your Honor, I will. Judge Caprio pauses, looking down at the case file in front of him. The torn pieces of the citation are still scattered on the podium below. The prosecutor watches him carefully, knowing that what happens next will define this case, will define how justice is served in this moment. Mrs. Ashford, you tore up your citation. You showed contempt for this court. Now, I could and maybe should increase your fine for that. The law allows me to do that. But I'm not going to do that today. Do you know why? She shakes her head, looking at him with red, swollen eyes. Because punishment without understanding is just cruelty. And I don't think you need cruelty right now. I think you need compassion. I think you need support. But he raises a finger, his expression becoming more serious. I also need you to understand the seriousness of what you did. Not the contempt charge. The parking violation itself. He picks up one of the photographs that the prosecutor has submitted. This is a picture of your car in that handicapped space. See that sign right there? See those blue markings on the ground? Those aren't decorations, Mrs. Ashford. Those are protections for people who are vulnerable, people like your husband. And when we ignore them, when we decide that our urgency is more important than someone else's disability, we're not just breaking a law, we're breaking a social contract. We're saying that some people matter more than others. Mrs. Ashford nods, her face full of shame and remorse. I understand. I do. And I'm so sorry. Judge Caprio sets down the photograph and looks at her with those wise, weathered eyes that have seen so much of human nature, the good, the bad, and everything in between. I believe you are. And I'm going to tell you something that I think you need to hear. You're going through one of the hardest experiences a person can go through. Watching someone you love suffer, being their caregiver, losing your own identity in the process, it's devastating. And it's okay to admit that. It's okay to say I'm not okay. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Mrs. Ashford is listening intently now, her whole body language changed. The defiance is gone, replaced by vulnerability, by openness, by a desperate need for someone to see her, to understand her. But here's the thing, Mrs. Ashford, Judge Caprio continues, his voice taking on that teaching quality that has made him famous. When we're struggling, when we're drowning, we have two choices. We can let that struggle make us bitter, make us feel like the world owes us something, make us lash out at everyone around us. Or we can let it make us more compassionate. We can say, I know what suffering feels like, so I'm going to be more aware of other people's suffering. He pauses, letting his words sink in. The courtroom is absolutely transfixed. Your husband's disability has given you a window into a world you didn't know before. The world of people who can't just run into a store quickly. People who need those close parking spaces. People who struggle with things that most of us take for granted. That's a gift, Mrs. Ashford. A terrible, painful gift, but a gift nonetheless. Because now you know. Now you understand. And you can choose to let that understanding change you. Mrs. Ashford is nodding, tears still streaming down her face. I will. I promise I will. The original fine for this violation is $300, he says, his voice measured. Now, because you destroyed the citation, I could legally fine you 5 times that amount. That would be $1,500. Mrs. Ashford's face goes white. Her hand grips the podium so hard her knuckles turn pale. $1,500? She whispers. Your Honor, we can't afford that. We're already struggling so much with the medical bills. Judge Caprio holds up his hand. I'm not finished. I said I could do that. I didn't say I would do that. The courtroom holds its breath. What I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to fine you the standard $300 for the parking violation. But I'm also going to give you a choice. You can pay that $300, and this case will be closed. Or he pauses, and there's something in his expression now, something that the regular viewers of his courtroom would recognize as that moment when Frank Caprio stops being just a judge and becomes something more. You can do something else. Mrs. Ashford looks up at him, confused. Something else? There's a rehabilitation center not far from here. St. Joseph's Center for Rehabilitative Care. They have a Parkinson support program both for patients and for caregivers. I want you to attend 4 sessions. 1 session per week for the next month. You and your husband, if he's able. If he's not, just you. Learn about the disease. Meet other people going through what you're going through. Get support. Get tools to help you cope. He leans forward, his voice intensifying with emotion. And I want you to volunteer 2 hours of your time at that center. Just 2 hours. I want you to help out in the activities room, or the cafeteria, or wherever they need you. I want you to meet other people with disabilities. I want you to see them, really see them, as human beings with stories and struggles and dignity. Can you do that? Mrs. Ashford is staring at him with an expression of complete disbelief. You're giving me a choice between paying $300 or attending support groups and volunteering. That's right. But why? I broke the law. I disrespected the court. I tore up the citation right in front of you. Judge Caprio's smile is gentle, almost sad. Because I don't think you need punishment, Mrs. Ashford. I think you need help. I think you need community. I think you need to remember that you're not alone in this world, and that the people you share it with, all of them, deserve respect and consideration. He pauses, then adds quietly, and because I think your husband needs you to be okay. He needs you to have support. He needs you to not burn out. And if making you pay $300 doesn't accomplish that, but connecting you with resources and community does, then that's what justice looks like today. The prosecutor is smiling now, her eyes bright with unshed tears. The clerk is dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Several people in the gallery are openly crying. This is what makes Judge Caprio's courtroom special. It's not about punishment for punishment's sake. It's about finding the humanity in every case, about asking what will actually help this person become better. Mrs. Ashford's voice is barely a whisper. I'll do it. I'll do the support groups and the volunteering. I want to do that. You're sure? Because the $300 fine is still an option. No. No, I want to do this. I need to do this. Judge Caprio nods, satisfaction evident in his expression. Good. Susan will give you all the information you need. You'll check in with the court after you've completed the requirements, and we'll dismiss the fine entirely. Mrs. Ashford's jaw drops. Dismiss it? You mean? No fine at all? Not if you complete the program. But Mrs. Ashford, his voice becomes stern, if you don't follow through, if you don't attend those sessions and do that volunteer work, then you'll owe not just the $300, but the full $1,500 for contempt. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. I understand. And I promise, I will do this. I will. Judge Caprio picks up his gavel, but before he brings it down, he has one more thing to say. This is the moment that those who know his courtroom wait for: the lesson, the wisdom, the reminder of what it means to be human in a world that often feels inhuman. Mrs. Ashford, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You're going to walk out of here today, and you're going to feel relieved. You're going to feel grateful. And that's good. But I need you to remember something else too. He sets down the gavel without using it and folds his hands on the bench, looking at her with those eyes that have seen thousands of people in their worst moments and their best. Life is hard. It's hard for you right now. It's hard for your husband. But it's also hard for that person who needs the handicapped space that you parked in. It's hard for the single mother waiting for her case who can't afford to take time off work. It's hard for the elderly man who got a ticket because his meter expired while he was at the hospital visiting his dying wife. We're all struggling with something, Mrs. Ashford. All of us. Every single person in this courtroom, in this city, in this world, we're all carrying burdens that other people can't see. Mrs. Ashford is listening with her whole body now, leaning forward slightly, absorbing every word. And because of that, we have to be kind to each other. We have to extend grace. We have to look at that handicapped space and think, someone needs this more than I do, even if I'm in a hurry, even if I'm having a hard day. We have to look at each other with compassion and assume that everyone is fighting a battle we know nothing about. His voice drops lower, more intimate, as if he's speaking just to her, even though the entire courtroom and eventually, thousands of people online will hear these words. You came in here angry at a world that has been unfair to you. And you have every right to that anger. But don't let that anger make you into someone you're not. Don't let your suffering make you blind to other people's suffering. Because the moment we do that, the moment we decide that our pain is more important than someone else's pain, we lose our humanity. And that's a greater loss than any ticket, any fine, any struggle you're going through right now. Tears are flowing freely down Mrs. Ashford's face now, but she's also smiling through them, a real smile, not the tight, polished expression she walked in with. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just do the work. Go to those support groups. Do that volunteer time. And when you see someone parked in a handicapped space who doesn't have a placard, I want you to feel compassion for them, not judgment. Because maybe they're having the worst day of their life too. Maybe they're at the breaking point just like you were. And maybe what they need is not anger, but understanding. He picks up the gavel again, and this time, he holds it with purpose. This case is continued pending completion of the rehabilitation program and community service at St. Joseph's Center. Upon successful completion, all fines will be dismissed. Mrs. Ashford, I wish you and your husband all the best. I truly do. And I'm going to pray for both of you. He brings the gavel down with a gentle tap, and the sound echoes through the courtroom like a period at the end of a sentence that needed to be written. Thank you, Mrs. Ashford says, her voice choked with emotion. Thank you so much, Your Honor. I won't let you down. I promise. As she turns to leave, Judge Caprio calls out one more time. Mrs. Ashford. She turns back to face him. Remember what I said. You're not alone. There's help available. And it's okay to ask for it. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. She nods, unable to speak, and walks toward the clerk's desk where Susan is already preparing the paperwork with information about St. Joseph's Center. The bailiff escorts her gently, and as she passes through the gallery, several people reach out to pat her shoulder, to offer quiet words of encouragement. Judge Caprio watches her go, his expression thoughtful. He's been doing this job for over 30 years, and he's learned that justice isn't always about punishment. Sometimes it's about redemption. Sometimes it's about giving people a chance to be better than they were in their worst moment. The prosecutor approaches the bench. "Your Honor, that was beautiful." Judge Caprio shakes his head slightly. "No, Sarah. What's beautiful is when someone comes in here hardened by life and leaves with their heart opened again. That's when we know we've done our job right." He glances at the next file on his desk, preparing for whatever story will come next. Because in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, there's always another story, another struggle, another opportunity to show that the law can have a heart, that justice can be tempered with mercy, and that sometimes the most powerful thing a judge can do is not to punish, but to understand. The woman who walked in angry and entitled, ready to fight the system, walked out humble and grateful, ready to serve. The woman who tore up a ticket in defiance will spend her time helping others instead of paying a fine. And somewhere in that transformation is the real meaning of justice, not revenge, not punishment, but the possibility that we can all become better versions of ourselves. As Mrs. Ashford reaches the door, she turns back one last time to look at Judge Caprio. He meets her gaze and nods, a small, simple gesture that says everything that needs to be said. Then she's gone, stepping out into the Providence sunshine with a purpose she didn't have when she arrived, with hope she had forgotten she could feel, and with a reminder that sometimes the hardest days can lead to unexpected grace. Judge Caprio returns his attention to his bench, to his files, to the endless parade of human struggles that will walk through his courtroom door. But for just a moment, he allows himself a small smile. Because this is why he does what he does. This is why he shows up every day, why he listens with his heart as much as his legal mind, why he never forgets that behind every citation, every violation, every case number, there's a human being with a story worth hearing. And in a world that often feels harsh and unforgiving, that might be the most radical act of all, to simply see each other, to listen to each other, and to remember that we're all stumbling through life together, doing the best we can with what we have. The law says Mrs. Ashford should have paid 5 times the penalty for her contempt. But Mercy said she deserved a chance to heal, to grow, to become someone who parks in the right spot, not because she fears punishment, but because she understands, deeply and truly, why it matters. That's the Judge Caprio way. That's justice with a heart. And that's why, decades from now, people will still be watching these videos, still be moved by these stories, still be reminded that the world can be harsh, but it can also be kind if we choose to make it so.